Imagine a world where the wrong joke, a misproduction quota, or simply knowing the wrong person could land. Between the 1920s and the 1950s, this was the reality for over 18 million people sentenced to the Soviet Union's Gulag system. They weren't just prisoners. They were slaves, worked to death in places like the Kolyma gold mines, where temperatures plunged to 50 degrees below 0°C. This wasn't just a prison system. It was a sprawling empire of forced labor camps, an economic engine fueled by human suffering. Today, we're uncovering the chilling truth of Stalin's gulags, a dark chapter of history that must never be forgotten. It all began with a wave of terror. The late 1930s saw Stalin's Great Purge sweep across the Soviet Union. The NKVD, the secret police, arrested millions. Who were they? Anyone deemed an enemy of the people. This could be political rivals, intellectuals, artists, military officers, ethnic minorities, or even ordinary factory workers who couldn't meet impossible targets. Many were sentenced without a real trial, based on fabricated confessions extracted through torture. Their destination was the Gulag Archipelago, a network of camps stretching from the Arctic Circle to the desolate plains of Kazakhstan. Maps from the era reveal a horrifying spiderweb of imprisonment, with notorious locations like Kolyma and Vorkuta becoming synonymous with death. For millions, the journey began in a packed cattle car, a dark, suffocating prelude to the nightmare that awaited. Life inside the camps was a relentless battle for survival against three enemies: brutal labor, starvation, and the crushing cold. A typical day started before dawn. Prisoners were given a sliver of bread and some watery soup, a pathetic fuel for what was to come. Then, it was 12 to 14 hours of back-breaking work, whether it was mining coal in the polar night of Vorkuta, felling timber in the dense Siberian taiga, or digging canals with little more than pickaxes and shovels. The work quotas were deliberately set at impossible levels. Failing to meet them meant even smaller food rations. It was a vicious cycle designed to squeeze every last drop of energy from a person before they collapsed. The writer and Gulag survivor Alexander Solzhenitsyn described the camp principle perfectly. You are here to work. If you don't work, you don't eat. If you don't eat, you die. The barracks offered little respite. Overcrowded and poorly heated, they were breeding grounds for disease. Lice were a constant plague, spreading typhus, which swept through the camps like wildfire. The meager rations drove people to desperation. Survivors spoke of boiling leather belts to make a soup, of eating grass and roots. In the most extreme cases, in the darkest corners of the system, there were horrifying and credible reports of cannibalism, a final, desperate act in a world stripped of all humanity. Frostbite was a constant threat, claiming fingers, toes, and lives. Medical care was almost non-existent. A sick or injured worker was just a broken tool, easily replaced by the next transport of prisoners. Survival depended on a mix of luck, cunning, and an almost superhuman will to live. Many simply gave up, their spirits broken long before their bodies. For many, the journey to the camp was as deadly as the camp itself. Consider the infamous Road of Bones, the Kolyma Highway. This was a massive project to build a road through the most inhospitable terrain on Earth, connecting the goldfields of Kolyma to the outside world. The workers were Gulag prisoners. They worked through brutal winters with primitive tools, their bodies literally becoming part of the road's foundation. It's said that for every meter of road built, a life was lost. The bodies of those who died from cold, exhaustion, or malnutrition were often buried directly beneath the road bed. It wasn't a metaphor. It was a gruesome reality. There were also the death marches. When camps were evacuated or relocated, prisoners were forced to march hundreds of kilometers across the frozen wilderness. Ill-equipped, starving, and weak, many simply collapsed and were left to die in the snow. Guards would often shoot anyone who fell behind. These journeys were a form of mass execution, a way to dispose of useless prisoners without wasting bullets. The sheer scale of this cruelty is hard to comprehend. It was a calculated, industrialized system of death, hidden away in the vast, empty spaces of the Soviet Union. Every river, every road, every mine in this frozen wasteland was paid for with an ocean of human suffering. The end of this era began, slowly, after Stalin's death in 1953. His successor, Nikita Khrushchev, initiated a period of de-Stalinization, which became known as the Khrushchev Thaw. He publicly denounced Stalin's cult of personality and the crimes committed under his rule. This led to a gradual dismantling of the Gulag system. Special commissions were sent to the camps to review cases, and millions of political prisoners were released and rehabilitated, meaning their convictions were officially overturned. For these survivors, returning to normal life was a monumental challenge. They were physically and psychologically scarred. Many had lost their families, their homes, their entire past. They returned as ghosts to a society that was often afraid to acknowledge their existence. The state preferred to bury the memory of the Gulag, and survivors were often warned not to speak of their experiences. Despite the risks, some brave individuals, like Alexander Solzhenitsyn, did speak out. His groundbreaking book, The Gulag Archipelago, compiled from hundreds of survivor testimonies, exposed the full horror of the system to the world. It was a literary earthquake that shattered the carefully constructed lies of the Soviet regime. The testimonies of these survivors are a vital, human record of one of history's greatest atrocities. They are a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable evil. The Gulag was more than just a prison system. It was a machine that attempted to crush the human soul. The stories of the 18 million people who passed through it are a stark reminder of how quickly ideologies can turn into instruments of terror. We must remember the victims, the nameless millions who perished in the ice and were buried in unmarked graves. Their stories are a warning to all future generations. If you believe these stories need to be told, please like this video to honor the forgotten victims, and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into history's most important events. In the comments below, let us know, which Gulag camp do you think was the absolute worst and why? Thank you for watching.